Hey guys, it's Leonette. Today I am doing a accent table flip. This cute little table I found on Facebook Marketplace, and as you can tell, it's had better days. It's already been painted with black paint, and I'm just going to give it a fresh paint job with some chalk white paint and give it a good distress. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. So after I removed all the hardware, I'm just giving it a good scrub with some crud cutter. With the furniture that I'm painting white, if it has a base that is very dark like this one, I always give it a first coat with Boss from Dixie Belle because it prevents staining. Now I'm painting with the chalk paint, and I'm going to give it a total of 3 full coats and then a fourth one in the places where I thought needed it. So this part, I usually do my videos with voiceover, but this time I'm going to try to do it where I'm actually speaking so I can explain better. Anyways, so if you hear some background music and some screaming, is my child. But anyways, I wanted to show you what I use to distress my furniture pieces. Recently I had a friend who asked me in detail what I use, how I do it, and so I thought I'd do a video just kind of focusing on that. So I keep it very simple, and I do it three different ways. So I either do a sandpaper by hand, and then I will show you later how I use this one, but I usually try to start with a lower grit, either 220, 180, 150. So this one is 150, but I'd rather start with something light and then move up from there, then start with something heavy and then kind of ruin the piece. So that's just the way I do it. The next thing I use would be the same concept, the sanding, but with my electric sander or my power sander. So I didn't have this long, my electric sander, so I always did it by hand, but I found that using the power one is a lot quicker and like significantly quicker, but it also gives it a more, because it's stronger, gives it a heavier distress. And I kind of like that because that's what I prefer and my preferred style. I like it very distressed, very old looking, so that's why I prefer, and I use this now more than anything else. Another technique that I have used is the wet distressing. I don't use it a lot. I use it if I'm distressing something that is metal or plastic or glass, because those are things that I wouldn't recommend using, like sanding paper. But I've also used it on wooden furniture, and it works well. I try to use one that has a lot of texture like this one, and obviously it has to be wet, so this one's very wet. Not dripping wet, but very, not just damp, but I like to feel it wet. And then it's the same technique, it just looks a little different. So I'm going to show you how each of them kind of look as I'm doing it, but I just wanted to show you what I've used in the past. And I also use a face mask anytime I'm doing either the electric sander or the hand sander, just to protect my lungs. So I will be showing you now how I use each. So here I'm using the rag, and it's pretty wet, and I'm just going to start distressing it. I always focus on the edges of any furniture and anywhere where there is some sort of like design or something, so that once it's distressed over it, it kind of makes it stand out. So as you can tell, the wet distress, it does distress, is very light, but if this is what I'm looking for, just something very simple, very light on the edges, then this would be a good thing to do. Now I'm going to do the hand sanding. This is the 150 grit. And as you can tell, it's a lot easier. It does go through the paint a lot quicker. Again, just focusing on the edges. And if I were to do the whole piece by hand, I would do all the edges as well as the top, so that I can get a little bit of distress randomly around all the piece. And now to the power sander. As you can tell, significantly faster and heavier too. But this is what I prefer. That's what I like to do on most of my pieces. And as I mentioned earlier, I do on top of it quite a bit, so that I get a little bit of random distress as well. I'm wiping it down, and then I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like. So, as you can tell, when I was doing the wet distressing, it distressed, but it was very, very light, right around the edges. And I like I said, I've used it before and I like it, but I like using it more on anything that's metal or plastic or glass. On wood surfaces, I prefer using the sandpaper. Now, when I did it by hand, it distressed a lot more, just like I like it, and it was a lot easier. But you know, you have to put more effort. And again, if that's what you have, it's perfect, it's fine. You can distress as little or as much as you want. But when I use the power sander, that's the style that I like the most. I like to see all this distress on the corners, and on all of the edges. And I usually just do two right above it, because sometimes you get like these little things, and some people don't like that. I do like that. I think it gives it character. So I just kind of wanted to show you the three different styles that I've used in the past and that I continue to use. And now I'm just going to do the rest of the little table with my power sander. I realized that I didn't fill these little cracks that you see here. I wanted to fill them before I distress, but it's no big deal. I'm just going to fill it with some caulk. Once I do this to all the four corners, then I'm just going to give it one more coat just on the edges of the paint, so that it has the same tone of white. So after all the paint was dry and everything was distressed, I then added the top coat to seal it, and it's with polycrylic in the matte clear. I'm now adding the knobs. These are from an old dresser that I flipped a while ago, but I thought it would look cute on this one. I decided to add some contact paper on the drawer. It was pretty messed up, as you can tell, so I thought it would be a nice touch to have that. After I measured and cut, then I'm just placing it. Pretty simple step. I just kind of go little by little and just flatten it out, take any bubbles out until the whole thing is covered. As always, if you enjoyed this video, if it inspires you to create new things from old things, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.